So
All right, here we go. Wait for a few
awesome.
people.
People are coming in.
Wait for a few people to bounce in. So far, there's one person. There
Yeah,
we go.
there they come. There they
There's
come.
Cynthia and Joanne, Robert. There we go.
Lovely people.
Yeah, nobody wants to listen to Mike and Katie anyway. They'd rather listen to you and me.
People coming. They've been listening to me all morning.
I
Some of
know
them.
you've been
So
like
that's
you've been a
making.
machine this morning. I mean, I'm every time I go see a patient, I come back in. Walter's on doing a live.
Oh, and if Natasha shows up, we should just bring her right back in. She's great. I don't know if
Oh, and
you've
that's
met her
great.
before, but
Mm-hmm.
she was fantastic, and she'd worked on yeah, it was fun. This actually I can decompress and talk about these 2 lives that I just did with these wonderful people. And
Yeah.
your impressions, because you saw part of the one with Egberto.
Oh, well, listen, anytime you're on a chat with Egberto, it's always an experience because he's so what's great about Egberto is he's just poignant. He's so like even keel. Like
Yeah.
he's very his mannerism is just level. Very similar to Nick, really. Like
Yeah.
Nick's just very level and Egberto's the same way. You and I tend to inflect and talk. We're very emotive guys. Like we
Yeah.
we we go up and down, we inflect back and forth and you know,
It's a good balance. It's a good balance to have. But yeah, and Egberto, he's so compassionate, but then he's got like that quiet authority too. And I think that what makes him so effective. Yeah, he's
oh,
great.
we're
We're lucky
popular.
to
We
have
got 21 people in here. We're popular guys,
they're coming.
you
They're
know?
coming. Oh, there's
They'll
Karen. Hi,
come.
Karen.
Hey, Karen.
So I just want to say though too, Eric, and I want to tell you, you just sent me a message the other day, and I just mentioned somewhere that I was exhausted, and you sent me just a really kind message, just to take care of yourself message, and it's just such a nice thing. I mean, in all the darkness and all the hard stuff that we've had to go through lately, meeting these wonderful people that like they just notice, like because you
Yeah.
see me in enough of these lives, like, oh, he's getting tired, and you take the time to be like, hey, buddy, take care of yourself.
Hey, there's
We're out
Beth.
for you. I really appreciate that. So, oh,
Hey,
there's
there's our
Evan.
bro, Evan.
You could bring Evan in too if you
Well,
want to do that.
Evan, you got a
If he's
minute?
busy, maybe he's sitting in his bathtub. He's like,
Might
no,
be in his bathtub. You never know.
yeah. He's like, don't do it, no. He'll let us know in the chat. But
Yeah, he'll
yeah,
let
I
us know.
wanted to give you some flowers for that. And I
Oh,
really,
thank you.
it's amazing how just that kind word like that, or just like, hey, buddy, take a rest. We got it
Well,
for you
I
for
mean,
20
isn't
minutes.
this what our community is basically saying is take care of your neighbors? It's look into your neighbor. Just like I moved into a new community about a year ago, and we really made sure that like my wife and I really made sure that we went around, we introduced our neighbors. There's about 20 houses on our street
Oh,
in our
yeah.
in our pod of 100 homes. And then um so we threw kind of like a get together party in our old community to kind of meet all of our neighbors and everybody was really but what's really interesting and this is a dynamic I actually was going to ask you because you're very intuitive with this. Evan, send me a private message if you want to jump in with us. Um, like, why is it not reciprocated? Like we had a lot of our neighbors over for like we did a huge holiday party at our house. We had like 25 people over, but nobody's reciprocated. Like the
Yeah.
dinner plans, like, hey, what are you doing this weekend? Like, I don't understand why. Like, and I get like some people just legitimately have anxiety over putting together a get together for neighbors or people, but it doesn't have to be like a major production and you know, but
Yeah.
I don't know if you just have any insight in that because I'm drawing a blank.
Oh,
And
I
I'm
have.
pretty intuitive and I read people all day long and you know,
And it's yeah, indifference, Evans. But it's some of it can be a lot of different things. And I honestly, a long time ago, I'm just like, how people respond is not going to influence, the affection I put out into the world. So I, I think part of it is, yeah. When I was in Peru, I often organized a lot of things, and I was just the guy who did that. I was like the expat guy who'd been there the longest, so I was just always getting people together, and I never once did it even go through my mind to even hope that somebody would reciprocate or that somebody else would set something up. I just knew they just weren't, they just really weren't even capable of it. So yeah, we just have to understand, I think, because it can be frustrating, but we want to avoid getting away from that frustration of expectation of how other people can act. We just have to go forth into the world the way we want the world to be, and then just keep doing it. And it does make an impact. And there's another part of it too, where sometimes it just takes people a long time. They might remember what you did, and 10 years down the road, that's when they reciprocate, and that's when they have a big party because you're no longer there. So I think that's just kind of the way we have to frame it, just for our own mental health.
Oh, there's Deborah. Hey, Deborah, how are you? Deborah joined. She found time in her day to join us.
I gotta find it. Yeah, yeah. And Evan, he's got to go run to the store. Come on,
Yeah,
man.
Evan's going to the store. Evan, I need a dozen eggs and half a gallon
Yeah,
of oat milk while you're out.
bring it
Yeah.
down.
So there was actually a story that broke this morning actually that I wanted to kind of bounce off of you. So there was the story right now is the House is trying to end the shutdown and Mike Johnson in typical fashion can't generate the damn votes he needs because he doesn't have control of
Yeah,
his caucus.
yeah.
Everybody was like, "Oh, Nancy Pelosi's a bad speaker. She's not
Oh,
she there was never a vote that failed while she was speaker, like, and this is the
wow.
difference in leadership, everybody. Like, people who respect leadership will fall in line, do their thing, but when they don't respect it, then things become dysfunctional, and I see it a lot. I was in Orlando at my state association meeting, and,
Yeah,
listen, most trade shows are like dog and pony shows. It's a combination like medical meetings, everybody, if you're not in the business or you're not in the trade programs, that kind of thing, association meetings or conferences are a lot like a trade show. So it's like a half scientific meeting and then half trade show. So like, the way the world works is that you have exhibitors and the vendors that are in the industry will exhibit in the space and they have the talks and the meetings, and I do a lot of the talks because I'm one of the industry leaders for wound care, and then there's all the vendors and all the exhibitors that are in the industry. So there's always this give take stuff, right? And no, Karen, they don't have booth babes. They don't have booth babes. They're called medical reps, and they're not necessarily all pharma. Sometimes it's medical devices too. So, but like getting back to the point is like it's a game show, right? Everything's a game show. It's the
yeah,
push pull. You give me this, I give you this, but we're not seeing that on the GOP side.
yeah.
And I don't even want to say GOP anymore. It's more like just
The white supremacy
white
regime.
white
Yeah,
white supremacy union. Yeah,
yeah,
that we're paying for.
yeah. Well, I
But
think. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, no, I was just gonna finish the thought and then, but like we're at the point here where like I'm hearing like, so like the body cams were one concession that they said, okay, we'll do that, but we're gonna pull the way we do. But like Mike Johnson won't negotiate on the warrants. Like like if you come to my door with an administrative warrant and you try to come in, yeah, good luck.
Yeah. Well, let's. Yeah.
That's where
I mean,
cancel doctrine comes in, right?
well, they'll kill
You
us,
know,
is what'll happen. I mean, ICE
well,
will kill you. I
maybe
mean, it's what, and it's
I'm a pretty good shot behind the
well,
door.
yeah, but it's word. I mean, that's just how it scares me. I think people need to understand the Second Amendment BS. It's like if a troop of 30 people comes and they burst down your door and start shooting, you're gonna die.
Well,
And we need to make that. Yeah.
this was the thing. Like they rewrote the Second Amendment after the Kyle Rittenhouse event, right? Like,
Yeah.
this is a guy who traversed interstates with a long rifle,
Oh,
wasn't licensed
illegally. That was illegal for
illegally,
him to have that
and
right. Oh, there's
murdered,
Egberto. Good to see
killed
you,
two
Egberto.
people and got away.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
Egberto, what's
Yeah.
up, my
Yeah.
friend? Thank you for joining us, bro.
Yeah. No.
Um,
Well, what we're seeing is a complete failure. I mean, leadership. I mean, this is a good angle. Just basic leadership requires respect, accountability, and compromise. And those are things that white supremacists they chortle and they manage to get seats of power by being defiant. Because if you're the kid, like as an educator, as a teacher, I sit in front of the classroom and, a bully can always get a certain amount of credibility among the other students by, oh, I'm going to stick it to authority. And authority should be held accountable. That is
always.
important. But the problem is that we have these white supremacists who are like attacking for no intellectually honest reason. And then when they get into power, all they do is continue to act like a bully, but it's inherent. When you are the bully in the classroom without any power, you can behave a certain way. But once you assume the mantle of authority, you have responsibilities. And the GOP always fails there because they don't have any respect for the tenets of leadership, the important higher qualities that would actually make a society function.
It's weird. Like we have all these laws on the books, right? We have rules and regulations for physicians. We have rules and regulations for attorneys. There's rules and regulations for building code and construction and pool contractors and HVAC guys
Yeah,
and right? So
yeah.
we have all these things like, listen, if you're gonna practice medicine in the state of Florida, you need 40 continuing medical education hours, and you need 1 hour in laws and rules. You have to have 2 hours on controlled substances. I have to go through all kinds of hell to recertify my DEA every 3 years, you know, and then like, but it's okay to break the law if if you vote red and you live in a red state and you're a red governor, and it's like, come on, really? It's like
How
this is
come?
and this is what we call the plutocracy. Everybody, this is the plutocracy of white supremacy. Where this is, I think, who posted this? Was it Julie, or was it Heather, who talked about Julie Roginski and Heather Reese? Heather Delaney Reese, I wasn't sure if they were talking about the difference between an oligarchy versus a democracy, where the democracy is about corporations having control, where they want things stable, but they know it takes time to get their investment money back,
Mhm.
versus an oligarchy, which they're like, they could give a shit.
Yeah,
They're like, fuck it, let's give it. We want our money like yesterday. We're going to rape and pillage the system, which is everybody what we're seeing now, you know?
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I one of the things you're talking about, and I've wrote about this recently, is at the time the Constitution was written, it was this advancement. It was this progressive idea. And since then, but it was, it's been surpassed. And one of the inherent problems with the Constitution is that it doesn't really envision the possibility of decent people as leaders. I mean, it's brilliant because it dissolves power, it separates power, there's people that hold each other accountable. But their assumption was because they were all slave-holding, rich white dudes
Not
that
all of them. Not all of them.
most of them owned slaves, yes.
Most of them did, yes.
Yeah, and so we don't have any mechanism, exactly as you're saying. We should have a mechanism that ensures only decent people are given. There should be licensing.
But even when they wrote that document, they still didn't trust the president. They
Yeah,
never trusted
yeah.
all the power being consolidated in the executive branch.
Yes, and in states,
And that's why they gave any powers that were not relegated directly into the Constitution through the 3 articles was respectively given to the states.
yeah,
And somehow, I'm trying to remember when in America, I think it was probably much after the Civil War. I mean, that's pretty much when power started consolidating to the district and at the
exactly.
federal government because of the Civil War. And then as we went through Reconstruction, and then as the world modernized, because think about the Industrial Revolution, the country wasn't set up for industrial regulations on child labor
Yeah.
and pollution, and like all of a sudden we're making stuff out of metal instead of cotton, right? Like it's just like the robber barons of the early 19th century, right? Like it's
Yeah.
and here we are. So now the robber barons of the 21st century are the techno douchebags.
That's really interesting too, because you start seeing these technological advancements and within like the what we've the forward face, the veneer of America, we're like, oh, these are the good things. Beneath that, there's always been this rot. And the candidates that I've talked to, they talk about how you'll be on a committee and you're trying to actually do something that's good for the people. The Republicans are just there undoing everything you're trying to get done. And they're trying, if they can't directly undo it, they're quite content just to hit pause and to delay and to just ensure, because we're already, the mechanism of injustice is established, and it's
Mhm.
going to take this tremendous effort to move the other way. But yeah, we're seeing that the Constitution was written so long ago. I mean, it can't anticipate like the technological revolution. I mean, the oil revolution was enough to undo our country. Now the technological revolution, the ability to indoctrinate the people with AI bots that can jump on social media platforms. The I read some statistic recently that like illiteracy has increased like 10% again. And like just the
It's
attack on education, the attack on the scientific model. I've been
just
reading the candle in the
look at
wind,
the
the candle
vaccine
in the darkness.
numbers.
What's
The
that?
vaccine numbers tell the whole
Oh,
story. I mean,
yeah,
it's
measles are back.
I
They're
mean,
giving us
measles.
measles.
I mean, would you ever think in your lifetime, you and I are around the same age, like we'd be talking about measles? I mean, come on.
And
Like, I
but
mean,
I
I'm
mean,
waiting I'm waiting for mumps to come back, and whooping cough and rheumatic fever and
polio and
all
shit.
the thing, come on, give me a fucking break. This is
What was
basic science, everybody. This is when
yes.
you have 95% of the population immunized, you get herd immunity, and you don't see this stuff. That's the
Yeah.
whole point. You might get a snippet here and there, and, whatever, but you might get that off case once in a while, but you're not gonna get epidemic outbreaks like we're seeing in Texas.
Yeah.
And I
Eh
honestly, for anybody who lives in Texas, I like Alberto in particular, I know you're working hard as hell, dude. You gotta get Abbott out of there. And Paxton's another piece of shit as well. So do
yeah,
what you can down there, buddy. I know you're working your ass off in Houston to get it taken care of. And just to comment on that, I got two things real quick. But like Telrico
Crockett.
and Crockett running. So here's the interesting poll that just came out. Telrico and Paxton are almost like splitting the vote equally. As soon as you put Crockett in, the polling shows, I think she was like +8 or 9 or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But again, it's a poll, so who the hell knows? But the other story I wanted to bring up real quick was that I don't know if you saw the story of what they're doing in Europe. They raided Elon's
Oh, yes.
offices
Heard
at
about
at
that.
X in Paris, and they've pretty much just had enough of his data dumping
Yeah.
and his data theft. They've had enough. So, you know, Christine just put a chat in there like when you have RFK. So I've been in the room with RFK Jr. at a policy meeting at
Oh god.
HHS. Not the sharpest tool in the shed. Like, it looked like he remember Tweak from South Park? It's kinda like him, everybody. It's just like he's always like
Yeah.
like he literally cannot focus for like 5 seconds. So it's
Oh,
just it's but and then there was a video cut the other day with Oz, Dr. Snake
ah,
Oil, about
yeah,
how we should go to work a year earlier and then work a year later so that we pay more Medicare, Social Security taxes out of our paycheck to raise the 3 trillion to refund, like, like I'm like, okay, and when are you gonna quit?
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, you know, like I just I yeah,
yeah. Well,
everybody, we're gonna have. I mean, it has to be a blue tsunami. Like it needs like an 80 to 100 seat flip in the House, and we
yeah,
need like 15 in the Senate. And that's the only way this thing fixes because it's just if we if the if we can't fix the Senate, then this is like Alabama mud.
yeah.
It's not gonna matter how many seats we have in the House.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I wanna thank you too, just I keep looking at I've been actually reading Carl Sagan to my kids, that's been our the demon haunted world, that's what my kids are getting treated to lately, and I actually can
Billions
read it.
and billions of years ago.
Have you read The Demon Haunted
Yeah.
World? It's so important, and it's interesting because early on, he was just like, "I envision this world of science denial again, where people are believing, well, something must have caused it. It must have been witches, and then they're burning people at the stake." And just the horrors of that. And just like but I mean, that's been the real wonderful thing about Substack is meeting educated people like you and like, Robert Dana. I don't know if you've talked to Robert Dana, but that
No, not
guy,
at all.
holy cow. Well, he's retired, but he was at one point like a top 3, nuclear weapons guy in the US
Oh my
military.
goodness.
I mean, talking to him and he came on to talk to me about when they attacked Iran, about the enrichment centers. He was just like, "The media is telling you lies about this." And it's just what's stunning to me, and, like, people like Corey Vinny, who's got his PhD from Harvard, and I'm constantly very humbled to talk to all these people who have much more education than I do, who are giving me and then but what's interesting too, I'll go into a bar and try to talk to somebody sitting on a bar stool. That guy doesn't have the time to listen to me. When I talk to somebody with a PhD from Harvard, like the expression, like just and like the intensity with which they listen, again, it's humbling, but it's also just like these are the curious minds. And it's like imagine a world run by people like that instead of like the fucking Joe Rogans of the world who he can't spit out 2 accurate sentences together. If your kids are listening to Joe Rogan, make them stop. Listen to people that actually know something about reality so
I
they
mean,
can get
we
some
grew up
point.
on Sesame Street.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up on like remember Electric Company?
Yeah, all those are great.
That was like I think, Samuel Jackson was on Electric Company. I think I remember watching it. He thought
Morgan
he got his
Freeman, I think it was.
Morgan
Yeah.
Freeman. Yeah, it was Morgan
Yeah.
Freeman. But, like, I mean, these are the shows that we grew up on,
Yeah.
and we kinda turned out okay, right? I mean, Gen X kinda turned out okay, and we've had a lot of shit we've gone through. I mean, we've seen a lot of stuff, but, like, there was another I can't remember, it was somebody did a story on it, and there was a video, it was a where, it was actually yesterday, I think it was Dana and Lawrence were talking to I think he was on their show yesterday, I can't remember his name. Maybe somebody in the chat can remind me because this is what happens when we get older.
Yeah,
Um,
I know the feeling.
but, like, it was like, "Hey, there's Nick.
Hey,
Hey, buddy." Um, like, where he said, "Oh," so they wrote a story, like, all of a sudden, somebody in the Trump administration wrote that Star Trek is woke. Like, Star Trek's always been, like,
Yeah,
lie. Star Trek
yeah.
was always woke. It was the
Uh,
way Roddenberry wanted it.
Somebody wrote the other day, I think it was on the Mouthy Renegade writer, and he said somebody was mad because Rage Against the Machine was too political. It's just like, you don't think they've
That
always
was
been
their whole
political?
thing. That's the whole name of the band.
Don't be too political. And it's like, I don't know. That's
Rage Against
funny.
the Machine being too political. Okay.
When did
Yeah.
they get so political? Uh-huh. That's the new thing, is it? It's like,
Oh
when
my
did the
god.
Empire from Star Wars get so fascist? It's like they've always
Oh,
been the bad guys.
you know, that Grand Moff Tarkin, he was really mean to those people in
Yeah,
Alderaan. He didn't have to blow up the planet.
yeah. Oh, yeah. That's like the defamation of character. The farm boy with connections to terrorist groups attacked this Death Star for no reason.
The really woke thing would have been if they shot the Star Wars scene on Tatooine, and then Sam Kinison was like, "You live in a desert! There's no food here! Nothing's ever gonna grow here!"
Oh, man.
I mean,
Oh,
that
Nick.
that whole Sam Kinison, like,
Yeah, I know what you
from his
mean.
stand-up, this is like, like, comedy is supposed to shed light
Oh, you have to laugh.
on the idiocy of politics,
Yeah.
right? It's always been that way, and, you know, thank God that all of us spoke out when Disney decided, shut off Jimmy Kimmel. I mean, I'm not a
Yes.
really major Jimmy Kimmel fan. I like Stephen Colbert much more, and and Jon Stewart over at The Daily Show. I mean, I think those guys are just beyond hysterical. I mean, right? Jimmy Fallon's more generic, kind of like G-rated stuff, but
Phew.
there's no reason why Stephen Colbert and CBS, I hope he signs a massive Netflix deal because he's too much of a talent to be sitting on the sideline. Who's just, it's just, how about a ticket like that? How about Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert running for president, vice president? How about that ticket, right?
It'd be better than what we have, but I want it to be. I would like Letitia James to be president, I'm still a believer in Kamala Harris. I think that they
She
did
didn't
her
do
dirty.
anything wrong. That was all on,
Yep.
that was
Eh, I think she would be great. There's a lot of good ones, and I think, oh, I forgot her name now. The wonderful woman in Georgia who basically got control of the Senate all by
oh,
herself in
Stacey
2020.
Abrams.
Yes. Oh, there's wonderful. So there's a
There's a
lot of
deep
wonderful
bench with a
candidates.
lot of good people. I think what happens is it's just, I
Cheating. The
at the end of the
Republicans
well,
cheat is what happens.
it's cheating, but I think at the end of the day, it really comes down to the economy. I really do think that when people were given that choice last fall, okay? Actually in 2024, it's like there was really bad messaging on the Democrat. I don't know who these
Oh,
strategists are that are advising
they're
them. It's just,
racist.
I
They're
mean,
people like Carville, who I don't
right.
think is a good person at all. I think he deliberately sabotages them.
It's we're just I think, and I keep saying this, right? I put this in post. Like, we have very serious, and I'm not trying to quote the American president. Michael Douglas is a phenomenal actor, but this is where the line actually, we have serious problems, and we need serious people
Yeah.
to deal with it. And we have very unserious people in government right now, across both parties, across government agencies, across, Nick said this too. We were on a show. Like, we need a constitutional reformation. We need to rewrite the Constitution for 21st century
Yeah.
United States for where we are today. We have much more complicated laws. We have much more complicated
Yeah.
banking systems, engineering systems, military systems, software. You know,
Yeah.
it's not, we just think about this. Most people, it wasn't too long ago, everybody, that your social security number was your social security number was your Medicare number. Right? And I remember practicing,
Oh,
we
yeah.
had, like, I'm collecting people's social security numbers and billing the government, right? So they finally made that change a few years ago, and now everybody gets some scrambled alphanumeric
Yeah.
secret to protect everybody's social security number because of all the identity theft that was going on.
Mhm.
So, but this isn't like, it takes government time if they're serious people
Yeah.
to work through the problem. And again, this is the same reason why healthcare is never fixed, because it's you have the insurance plutocracy, the pharmaceutical plutocracy, and by the way, everybody, it's not the physicians, because the first thing that gets cut in every budget deal, it's not about the doctors. Just so everybody knows out there, yes, I do okay. I do very well. I do better than most people because of my education, my training, my experience, and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, just so you know, your physicians and your doctors have not had a cost of living adjustment increase in medical reimbursement since
Mm.
2001. So imagine being in a job for 25 years where you never got a raise, but but everything that you do keeps costing more money. Your car, your gas, your food, your clothes, your other insurances you pay, and it's not easy for physicians either. I carry malpractice insurance, I carry disability insurance, I have auto insurance, life insurance, health insurance, business insurance. I think I'm overinsured. What do you think?
No, probably not based on what the world is like, but yeah, I mean, I talked to my when I went in for my physical, and I kinda had that conversation with him. I'm just like, "Yeah, I know it's not your fault. I know you're," because he's a sincerely nice guy. He wants to help people, and they get just as frustrated too. But having these conversations is so important, and just, like, allowing ourselves, because 'cause we're always indoctrinated to not speak out about the things that are really I've been it's been a lot more commonplace in me for me in the last year to just burst into tears in front of people, to just be like, "Do you guys the reality, the inhumanity of what's going on right now, this is how bad it is." And when a 50-year-old white guy starts crying in public, a couple people get uncomfortable, and I think being a little uncomfortable is important right now, so we start to realize the enormity of what we're up against.
It's really interesting. Like it's actually funny. I was actually working on something. So I was treating a patient who had diabetes, and everybody saw the post that I do a lot of diabetic like wound care, and so this particular patient was a Medicare patient. Applied a cellular tissue graft because he couldn't have surgery, so we closed the wound. And Medicare adjudicates the claim, and they go ahead and they pay me, that kind of thing. That's fine, right? So all of a sudden, I get a notice from a company called Covidity, which is doing third party appeals or clawback reviews for United Healthcare. Not the best people, right? So, but the patient's got United, it's a United Healthcare Plan F Medicare supplement. So they're asking for all this money back for all the applications of the tissues I did over a period of 6 weeks,
Oh,
right?
boy.
I did 6 weeks of applications. And, just for sake of argument, it was $6,000 in reimbursement, but I also paid out like $800 for each graft. So my profit was 20%, right? So, but here's the thing, like, they're doing this not just to me, and I know the regulatory language and I know the law. So
Yeah.
it is actually illegal for a Medicare gap insurance company, even one like United Healthcare, okay, who has their own policies and all this other stuff, that pursuant to 42 US Code 1915, and I forget the subsection, right? It is illegal for any Medicare insurer that participates in the Medicare supplement program to ask for any money back from a Medicare provider if Medicare has adjudicated the claim because they have established medical necessity when they pay the claim and it is finalized at that point. So they're hoping to put doctors through the ringer, and they'll just, oh yeah, we'll just pay the money back. And I don't want to get sued. I don't want to go through administrative review and da, da, da. And I'm like, really,
Yeah.
asshole?
Yeah.
Pardon everybody, all 107 of you.
Yeah.
Fuck you, United Healthcare. You're not to my wallet, right? So I wound up sending like a 12-page letter.
Yeah.
And this is where AI actually helps everybody. So if you have to draft a letter back to an insurance company for a medical claim or they're denying something, you can go into like, I don't use ChatGPT because of how erroneous it is, but actually Google Gemini is really good with this stuff. And so I use an AI specific for physicians. It's called Open Evidence, and you have to have an NPI number which is a national provider identifier, to be able to use it. But it's based on the Gemini Google, not Copilot, but it's the Gemini Google AI. And you just prompt it and you say, I am a da 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 year old patient undergoing this medical problem, and I'm currently being denied for this surgery under Aetna's or United or Cigna's coverage policy, da da da. What exceptions can I have as a result to get this thing? And the AI will literally help you draft your appeal letter
Mhm.
so that
Good.
because they're using AI against you in your claim. right? So they're using AI against you. So and nobody's going to, and I tell patients this all the time, nobody's going to advocate for your own healthcare better than you. You can be your best advocate in healthcare. It's not going to be your physician.
Yeah.
I'm a unicorn. Forget me. I always do it for my patients, but it's just use your AI, and you can use it. Just don't put your personal information in. You could just do it as a generic. Please write a generic appeal letter for a 38-year-old female, da da da, and bleeding out, whatever it is, right?
Oh, it's a good idea.
So, and you don't need to put your name in there. You don't need to put. You can list all your medical stuff. Just don't identify who you are in the letter. And then when you get the letter, you can copy and paste that into Microsoft Office or notes or whatever documentation you use, and send out your letter that way. But what's really cool is if you ask it for references, it will literally provide the medical literature references for you,
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
which is what you need to kind of counteract the, you know,
Well, what's frustrating to me about this is, and I thank you for your efforts, for your patience, and for educating all of us. But at the same time, it's frustrating that you can't just be a doctor. You have to be like a lawyer in addition. It's like, so how much
and
energy do you
and
have?
and and a HSA administrator and a
Yes. And it's like, how
yeah,
much energy this is killing us
I have a
because it's
hat
taking
picture
energy
on the
from
wall
you.
back here.
Yeah.
There's a hat for all this back
Yeah,
here.
and it's taking energy from you that you, if you were in control of your own life, you would put that into healing people who are in pain. So even if you win this claim against you, just the fact that the claim was made in the first place hurt human beings. And
Yeah.
when I was in Peru one time, I got sick. My wife's like, "Oh, let's go down to this guy." And oh, it turns out in Peru you can just become a doctor. You rent out an office. People can go and talk to you. And he's just like, and then he's like, go get these tests done. So I went to like a clinic around the corner. Whole thing cost me like $30. He went through it all. And it's like, why don't we have that system where it's like, oh, and it's really like just getting to become a doctor is controlled by Congress. They limit the number of people that can be doctors so that they can bring guys over on those H1, is it the H1B visa that they
Yeah.
bring them over from other countries? It's like, we can't even, it's like, I can't just go to college, learn how to be a doctor, open up a clinic and treat people. It's like
It's
pretty much
it's not about
impossible.
that though, because, like, we've gotten so because because of litigation and civil lawsuits against medicine, right? And, I'm just gonna address Lefty's quote real quick. So Lefty put something in the chart about checking the sources. So in Open Evidence, which is, the one for physicians, they've actually partnered with the New England Journal of Medicine, the AMA, and the NIH, as well as PubMed, Lefty. So all of the references they provide in Open Evidence are all evidence-based literature. So it's all legit research that's vetted out by the New England Journal of Medicine, the AMA, and the NIH, and PubMed. So, yeah. Anyway, so getting back to that, so, like, when you have this extensive amount of education, right? So, the way it works to become a physician, everybody, is you go through your first, you get accepted to medical school. After, you don't need a bachelor's degree, by the way. You can do it after the 90 credit hours that you have to have all your prereqs, right? And then, so you sit through your first 2 years, and then after your first 2 years, you take the U.S. medical licensing examination, the USMLE, and that basically tests your generic sciences. So that tests your biochem, organic chemistry, all the stuff you need to be science doctor, right? The science brain, right? Histology, anatomy, physiology, all that stuff, right? Then you go through now your years 3 and 4 are your clinical years, okay? Where you're doing your clinical rotations, your externships, your clerkships. So then at the end of your fourth year, you take the USMLE 2, which tests what you learned in rotations and your basic knowledge of internal medicine, and then when you finish, now you go to residency training, right? So now you're getting the on-the-job training of how to be a doctor. So medical school teaches you how to read large amounts of volumetric material, right? Like, so we'll do an entire textbook in one semester. So just to kind of give everybody an idea here, I don't have a textbook here. They're all fun. But anyway, so hang on. So I'll show you guys. So let's like, oh my God, I haven't pulled this book out in like 5 years. Okay. So, because everything's online now, right?
Yeah.
So, for
Yep.
example, so
Yep.
this is the surgery of the foot and ankle. Okay.
Okay.
Just
Not
kidding.
much of the body. Yeah.
You know, like the old movies where you
Yeah.
open up a little book and it's all cowboy, right? So, so this is kind of like the Bible when it comes to foot and ankle surgery, everybody. But this is the second volume. Okay. The second volume has roughly over 3,000 pages, of which all is testable, and I have to know everything, just about everything in here. But it, but the thing is, because it's surgery, and like this is like the basics. Like this is kind of like how orthopedic foot and ankle surgery gets done. It's in this book, right? Then there's reality. It's like learning how to drive. There's You
Yeah.
learn what to do to pass the exam, and then you
Yeah.
learn how to drive for the area of the country that you're living in, right?
Yeah.
So if you live in Florida, nobody uses their turn signal,
Yeah.
right? So then what happens is you go through your residency training program. I'm sorry if this is boring everybody, but you go
Oh,
through your residency training program where you're actually learning. So now you're rotating through each department of the hospital: internal medicine, plastics, microbiology, infectious disease, gastroenterology. So you go through all your rotations, and then you finally get to the part of your residency, which is actually where you're specializing in. And now you start to narrow focus down on your training, which is whatever your specialty is. If it's orthopedics, if it's general surgery, pathology, radiology, whatever it is, then you start honing down what you're doing. And now you start learning your trade. Okay. And that might take another couple years, anywhere from 3 to 6. Okay. Neurosurgery, 7. Okay. But it's actually 10 because you have to do a general surgery. You have to do a general surgery rotation first, then go to neurology. Then you go to neurosurgery, or you do general surgery, then plastics, or general surgery, then cardiothoracic.
let me just ask, at what point are you getting paid a little bit as you're doing the is
Once
all
you
these,
yeah,
like,
once
on the
you're
job training?
When you start your residency training program, that's federally funded by the government. So those
Okay.
positions are funded to each hospital.
Yeah.
And then so the hospital keeps a portion and then they pay you a salary out of that amount of money. So there's always somebody got their hand out.
And when was the last time that federal funding was increased for the number of doctors?
So it's reviewed each year. So each program has to reapply for the federal funding based on their positions each year. And they can ask for more money if there's more training and that kind of thing. So it literally could be, you could be a physician in private practice as early as 3 if you do an internal medicine
Uh-huh.
residency. But if you want to be a general practitioner, you don't have to do a residency. But it's going to be really hard to get on insurance panels to build a business unless you're going to do a direct pay care model. But if you're a
Yeah.
GP, you know enough when you graduate residency that you can be, if you're an MD or DO, you can be general practice and you can open up, hang a shingle, and be that.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I think this all applies because what I heard, there's the funding you apply for, but then there's the massive pool that Congress controls.
yep,
And my understanding was that Congress was limiting the amount, and this is just the attack on education again, because
yep.
it's like, all you're talking about sounds great. I mean, if I'd had a, because I'm a curious person, and it's like, yeah, this would be super interesting. I could go, and I'm smart enough where I could figure this stuff out, but I never had any kind of opportunity, because I grew up on this farm and it was like this conservative where I used to get beat up just for reading. So it's just sort of like coming up, like clawing up to a point where I could even go to college. And I think so much of the United States is like that. If we could just change our whole ideology where we have, oh, gee, the amount of money we use to fund the military, let's use that in a pool for education and make everybody physicians, see what kind of advancements we could have to start taking people's pain away.
I'm gonna address Kashrnickis's quote here. So no, so there's really no such thing as a general practitioner anymore. It's really either internal medicine if you're an MD, and then family practice if you're a DO. So they still now get residency training. It's just it's family practice it's family practice and internal medicine. It's one and the same. They take the same exact USMLE licensing exams. They take the same. So all the internal medicine physicians, if you see a doctor, he's an MD in internal medicine. He takes the American Board of Internal Medicine certification exam, and then the American Board of Family Practice for the DOs. But if they're in orthopedics, they're taking the same American Board of Orthopedic Surgery, the AAOS examination. It's the same whether you're MD or DO. Anesthesia is the same thing. Dermatology is the same thing. Radiology, pathology. So the only one that really kind of separates is the family practice MD DO stuff with internal medicine. But cardiology is the same, electrophysiology is, and we are so subspecialized. Like we now have like orthopedic surgeons that only focus on one joint.
Yeah.
Like there's guys in my area that only do hips. That's all they do. They either do I'm only doing a knee guy. I don't do anything else. So pediatrics is the same way. Now there's subspecialization in pediatrics. You've got pediatric oncology, pediatric cardiology, pediatric gastroenterology. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just we've gotten so subspecialized that like and that's why I think people get frustrated because you get bounced around. Like, you think you're going to, let's say you're going to Cleveland Clinic, for example, because you have something really major going on, but you wind up getting into, like, and they're all like little major clinics within Cleveland Clinic. Like, there's the gastro clinic, and then there's the hematology clinic, and then the ortho clinic, and so it's all under one big umbrella, and it's almost like designed to trap you in the hospital system, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
But
Well,
well,
what are
this
your
this
fears?
conversation went in like 15 different directions, didn't
No,
it?
I think this is super interesting, but I think it ties in too, like, just like the disrespect for experts that has been this ongoing thing, and a lot of these systems are unwieldy. They have people that are legitimately trying to make it because in every system, it's like, I'm an educator, half the educators are wonderful, but there are people within the system of education that deliberately undermine it. That happens. And so that's why you get these unwieldy kind of structures that don't make any kind of sense. But it's like these attacks on expertise that are going on right now, the attacks on education. How is this sustainable? I mean, how in
It's
10
not.
years are people going to be able to do what you're doing because we're taking away so much funding for education? The reality of that people are not, they're not
Well,
understanding what we're up against
but
here.
this is what they want. They want us
Yeah.
dumber, they want us broke, and they want us controlled. Well,
Yeah.
I ain't that type. You ain't gonna control me, you ain't gonna shut me up, and I'm not gonna be poor. So,
Yeah.
it's like, I y and
Yeah.
this is the fight, right? I think I put a post out on, Sunday. I know you saw it. It was like, hug your kids, spend some time with your wife. I took a break from Substack over the weekend. I wasn't
Yeah.
posting much. Said, "Do something for yourself." And then I said, "On Monday, we resist again."
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that resisting is a 7-day work week, but everybody out there, all 130 of you in the chat, it's okay to take a day off. It's okay to shut off Substack. It's okay to walk away. It's okay to do something for you. It's okay to, for your mental sanity and your mental health, to just walk away and step away. You know, it's important.
I've been reading Rest is Resistance by what's her last name here? Trisha Hershey.
Oh,
And she
yeah.
keeps mentioning it, how capitalist, white supremacy societies, they make you exhausted constantly, and you always feel to the point where you feel guilty for resting. Your body is your temple, and this was the main thing they emphasized when I went to Peru too. They told me, "Take care of yourself first, second, and third. If you are not taking care of yourself, you're not gonna be in this fight for the long term, so you have to
Mhm.
do that." But it but you can't just say that. This is the thing I'll
You gotta
mention,
live it. You
and
gotta work it.
we have to emphasize it for months. But I mean, I think it takes my kinda I've taken the idea from stopping drinking. This is a kind of a useful model because my kids were getting into high school, so I'm like, "You know what? It's always the easiest to model the behavior you want your kids to follow, so I'm just gonna not drink." So I quit drinking, and it's like the
I'm
first
so
couple
sorry to hear
weeks,
that.
well, maybe I'll start up again. My wife likes, I do miss having a glass of wine with my wife every now and then, but right now I need this because I feel the energy and it has made
Mhm.
me more lucid and I've been able to do more since then. But what happens is whenever you're reprogramming your habits, it's not, it's deliberate. It's in your conscious mind for a couple weeks. And then you have to like, oh, because I get home, here's my routine. I get home, I grab a beer, I sit down and watch TV. You have to deliberately override that. And to use your conscious mind to program your unconscious mind, it takes about 3 months. So the same thing is true with like insisting that you have rest. You have to deliberately make yourself have rest. And it's going to take about 3 months before then it becomes your habit.
Right.
And it's just like training, like you're saying too, learning to become a doctor. You're consciously concentrating how to do this, and eventually it becomes second nature. And it's like with the writing I do, it's like I just get into a flow state. I write an article in 15 minutes because I've spent my whole life doing this. It's just like it's all kind of set to come out.
I'm
But yeah,
about
things
I'm
make it
about
easier.
37.5 minutes. I'm not as well versed. It takes me time to form words as a physician, right? Because
Yeah,
if it's not medical vocabulary, I have to, like, figure out how I'm gonna, like, syntaxically, like, put it together. And if it's not a medical journal I'm writing, it's not the same thing, but, um,
yeah. Well, that's
yeah,
a
real
different
quick.
approach.
Everybody, pound those hearts for Walter and I. Thank you so much. And if you're not subscribed to Walter,
Oh, thank you.
subscribe to Walter over me because I have no paywall, everybody. So I'm the cheapy one, but Walter is the one that's working for a living, and please, if you're not supporting him, do so because
Thank you.
he's just a gem. He's my idol. He's one of
Oh,
my idols on here. He's a good guy. He's a good soul.
well, that's
And
so kind of
he
you to.
means what he says, and he says what he means.
Oh, and slip by bit, everybody, this has got to be a grassroots movement. I keep saying, and if you can't afford to subscribe, that's fine too. But I need your support in pressure your representatives to come and talk to me. And I think
Yeah.
I'm really more and more getting to this idea. I don't know if you saw that interview I did with last week. I did Emily Berge with Nick, and then we talked with Fran Hong, who's a gubernatorial candidate for
That was a
Wisconsin.
great interview. That
Oh
was
my,
epic.
she would,
That
she
was
was,
an epic
she
interview.
made me
Yeah.
laugh. I felt
Everybody
so
go
good.
back and watch that interview because
Oh,
that was epic.
she said, we're sitting there talking, and she's like, it's time to be done with the crusty old white guys. Then she goes, no offense. And I'm just like, no, I love it. But her last line, when I said to her, I'm just like, yeah, we can work together. We can get more people talking and we can take our country back. And she just goes, let's fucking go. And I'm just like, yeah, we need our governor
You know where that came
candidate.
from, by the way? Let's fucking go. You know where that actually got
No,
started
where?
from?
Where?
So that actually got started at the beginning of the pandemic through pickleball.
Oh,
That actually kind of got the whole kind of the LFG that kind of started coming up through the
okay.
pickleball because that's what you yell on the court like let's fucking go like
Ah,
and it's
I just wrote it. It's Francesca Hong, gubernatorial candidate in Wisconsin. People were
oh
asking.
yeah
She was
she
great.
was
Emily Berge was great. And these are people, and I've been telling them, I just thank them every time. Thanks for talking to a real human being. I'm not like some polished media personality who lives in a gated community. I got my back up against the wall with everybody else. And that's the real problem with America is we got too many representatives who are just rich jerks who have never known any kind of suffering in their whole life. They don't see the reality of these things. So they might hear the name Liam Ramos, but they don't see the little child in his blue hat who's been abducted by ICE agents and abused in detainment. And, it's just like asking these questions are things we have to ask. And we do. We have to change nationally the narrative. It starts with these fringe media things like this, and it's fringe, but we can influence. I talked to a candidate. That candidate talks on it on a debate stage. All of a sudden, this message becomes amplified, and it can happen fast. Everybody's part of this.
yeah and don't think that your voice doesn't have weight
Oh, it's
because there
huge.
was that whole video that somebody put that out with what's his face with Dan uh what's his face the eye patch the congressman
Crenshaw.
Crenshaw where it was a she was a Republican who voted for Trump, and she was an attorney, and she, like, literally just called his ass out
Yes,
and
that's why
and
they're
just put
afraid.
it down, and,
Got something
you
to
know
do? You're
no,
okay?
no, no, not yet, I'm good, and
Okay.
then no, so the update was that the House passed the,
Uh,
clears the ending hurdle and ending partial government shutdown. The vote passed 217 to 215 with Thomas Massie voting no. Um, this is the one that cleared the Senate last week. And then now they have the 2-week negotiation over the, immigration funding and the
yeah,
CBP and ICE stuff, and then so, I mean, guys, this is why elections matter,
yeah,
this is like this shouldn't even be a conversation right now, it should not be where we have to, like, pray for 4 Republicans to vote no. Like, it's
yeah.
just not, this
Well,
is
we have Democrats who vote we have Democrats who had voted to fund ICE,
those
and
fucking
that's
senators, those fucking senators,
yeah,
seriously?
yeah, and that's we can't be quiet about that, and you know what? If you wanna go out and
Right, that
protest
was Egberto that did that, thank you, Egberto, that was your video, I couldn't remember who put that out, but that was yours.
excellent.
Yeah,
Good to give Egberto, I love
yeah,
Egbert.
way to
But
be on
yes,
top of it, buddy.
I've been telling people, if you're not living in Minneapolis, it's like I would say, don't even go protest. Don't even go demonstrate in front of ICE. Go demonstrate in the houses of these Republicans and Democrats who are voting against us.
And I'll give
Make
I'll
yourself
give
seen.
Alyssa Slotkin credit. In the hearing yesterday or the day before, she went out with the VA administrator, the secretary of the VA, and called him out for posting what he put out on Alex Preddy on the VA website, calling him what he called him, and she, like, called him out in the middle of the hearing, like, she literally let him have it. So, for all the negative shit that Slotkin sometimes does, and I'm originally from Michigan, and, like, I get it, but like, they're people. They're not gonna always do the right thing that we want people to do, but as long as they're right more than often, it's enough, but we're in a world right now where we have a lot of people not doing the right thing, and
Yeah, yeah,
but it's just it goes back to what we talked about earlier, right? About how the founding fathers didn't trust the president, right? But they never, ever, ever would have thought that Article 1 Congress would be so obsequious. And I brought this up
yeah,
I talked to Alberto about this. I actually brought it up in our conversation was like, so you start off going into politics, you run for school board, then you run for city council, then maybe county commissioner, you kind of work your way up, and then finally
yeah,
you get a seat at the big table and you're a US congressman representing a million people in your district.
yeah,
And you just hand your power off to the executive branch,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah,
you have a chip in the game at the big table, and you spent your entire career to get to this point,
yeah,
and you just decide to just hand over your authority. I'd be like, "You're gonna have to get that power from me kicking, screaming, and on my deathbed."
yeah. I think what's interesting, just the extent to which corruption is involved in our government, like all these the candidates that are so bought and paid for. Like, look at how quickly, Marjorie Taylor Greene, all of a sudden she's resigned from Congress because she says one thing that, they're all I call them post turtles. When you take a turtle and you put them on a post, don't do that. It kills the turtle.
Right.
But it's like the turtle can't climb up that post. And it's like all these different people. You look at like Kinzinger. It's like the second he comes out and says some things, he can't get elected anymore. And then Democrats look to Kinzinger as if he's some
He's
sort of
not
voice
so
of the right.
clean like everybody wants to make him out to be,
I
and neither is
know.
she's I wouldn't trust her as far as I can throw her. She's still a
Oh, she's
menace,
awful. And
dude,
she's
yeah.
still got her anti-trans stuff that she says, which is just
No,
pure hate speech.
and
She lies.
she's never apologized to,
AOC,
any of
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
AOC, she's never applied to, any of the kids from Marjorie Taylor Stone, which is literally like 5 miles from my office over here,
Yeah.
and I was taking care of those kids,
And they are public figures. They could be out in Minneapolis. They could be out showing what's going on, what
Yeah.
ICE is actually doing. There's so many things that they could do. They could be demanding entry into these detention centers. I want assurances that children aren't being raped and tortured in ICE detention centers. That's not an unreasonable thing to ask for. I want assurances kids aren't being raped in our detention centers. And it's like, why aren't our
Why
people
are they
safe?
even in the detention centers in the first place?
Yes, but it's like I don't
No
even
child
we'll
should
get to
ever
that.
be in a detention center with adults,
Yes, correct.
like a general
Kids are
population
innocent.
convict.
Yeah, why are we allowing this? Why and then it's just the media covers this up, and then Jeffries gets out there and talks about body cameras. It's like, I don't think our police should have guns. I don't think the police kill 5 times as many people as mass shooters every year. I don't think that's acceptable.
Well, I
Other
listen,
countries in the world.
I I
Go
live in
ahead.
South Florida. It's I mean, people don't really realize, I mean, you saw the news and all that stuff, but Miami was a war zone in the '80s. The cops were even vastly outgunned then,
Yeah, but
and
watch if you put an emphasis on social programs, you make sure there is no want. It's like Republicans do this. They ensure there's not enough food, and then they hire police to beat people over the head if they try to steal, something to give their starving kids. And it's like they just are creating these situations. And a lot of it comes with that white supremacy mindset where they view everybody else as just evil and inferior and deserving and less than human. That's what so much of our government is run by, just fabricating ways to provoke people into an act that they can then punish and having limitless funds for, brute squads, secret police that torture and murder people, even as they're protecting their billionaire child rapists on their private islands. So it's an ugly
so,
situation we're in.
here's the interesting, like, I was in Europe in October, right? My wife and I were in Italy, and she had asked me a question I didn't know, and I had to look it up. It was like, "What's the difference between the Polizia in Italy and the Carabinieri?"
Yes,
Right?
yes.
And I had to, like, literally look it up because the Polizia, they don't carry firearms, but the Carabinieri do.
Yeah.
And the difference is that the Carabinieri is actually a division of the military versus the
Yep.
Polizia, which are your local,
Yep.
like, Rome police, like this would be like your Milwaukee Police Department, right?
Yeah.
But the Carabinieri would be like the Wisconsin National Guard, right? Carrying weapons. So it's interesting how Europeans have a very different view of who should carry,
Yeah.
who should be, that kind of thing. But here it's like, oh, you don't
Well,
know
there's so much
who's
yeah, there's so much indoctrination. I was talking about that with Murphy the other day too in Ireland, and he's like, "Yeah, the police don't have guns. They have their SWAT team in case, something because every now and then you might need it, but like just regular police officers, like somebody pulling you over because your tail lights out, they gotta start shooting at you? I don't think so. I don't think they
well,
should be
you do
pulling you
whenever
over
when
at
there's
all.
400 million weapons in the United States. Yeah, you don't know who's carrying.
But maybe that's the see, maybe if we took guns from the police, then maybe the police would be willing to vote for
But
more gun control.
see how the argument goes? Well, the Second Amendment gives me the right to keep and bear firearms. Yeah. Well, okay. Yeah. If we're talking about defending your home against, the Iroquois in
Yeah,
1776, right? Like I don't think, again, there were no automatic weapons back then. It was muskets,
yeah.
right?
Well, and a lawyer reached out to me not too long ago, and he'd gone through. I think it was Scalise who actually just his misrepresentation of the Constitution to create this because this nonsense we're believing about guns right now. It's only 30 years old. I mean, the National Firearms Act. Talk about this with people. After the St. Valentine's Day massacre, the
Yep.
police were like, "We're sick of getting killed by gangsters with machine guns. Let's do the National Firearms Act." It doesn't restrict ownership. It doesn't ban machine guns. It just makes you have to have a permit and to keep them registered. And since then, there have been no I think there have been 2 instances involving, machine guns, automatic weapons. One of them was from a cop who had taken the gun out of storage. And so it's like this legislation absolutely works. So
And it
whenever
was the other
anybody
one was
brings
in
in
Vegas
well,
years ago.
that was a bump stop.
That was
The
a
bump
bump
stop
stop. That
was
was a
not a
converted,
machine.
yeah, that was a converted to a machine gun to a
Yeah.
semi from an automatic, right.
Yeah, well, it doesn't actually do anything to the mechanism, it just bumps like this,
Right,
so it makes the
right.
trigger action more. So, yeah, it's like but the people who say that there's been no legislation to stop this, they disregard the National Firearms Act, which isn't a gun ban, it totally works, and a lot of it was directed from
But
the
it's
police
also
who got
funny
tired of
too,
being
because
killed.
after Reagan was shot and they passed the assault weapons ban, right?
Yes.
There were,
Collapsed
like,
it.
almost it went down.
Yeah.
But now you've got I don't know how many states now. Florida changed it now, so you can be open carry. Well, no, you can't be open carry, but you can be concealed carry without a permit. So let's just put more guns in the hands of people who aren't trained to use them, right?
Yeah, and even
Then
people who are trained to use
Arizona
them are pretty
and
bad.
Arizona's had an open carry on the books for probably what, since the Wild West, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, is this really where are we?
Yeah, and look at what's happening now too. Alex Preddy had a permit, and he had every right to carry that gun. He got
And you see
shot,
how they
what,
changed
10
the
times in the
narrative?
back.
You see now what they were saying now? "Oh, he shouldn't have been carrying, but it's okay for armed vigilante militias to walk up to the Michigan State Capitol building
Yeah,
and threaten to kidnap
well,
Governor Whitmer, but it's okay for them to protest with AR-15s."
yeah, and you know what? And as much as I dislike NRA guys and I dislike the Second Amendment guys, they're not gonna buy it. I've known enough of them.
No.
I grew up with enough of them where they see they see a guy who has every right to carry get shot that many times. And it's the you and because they're doubling down because that's all this regime knows how to do. They can never admit they're wrong. They can never practice responsibility. They can never practice accountability. So
Nope.
now they're going to continue to do these arguments. That's going to continue to trigger Second Amendment rights advocates. It's always been a lie, though. Like I said, if you think you can defend your house from the military, they'll murder you. They're going to murder you. They'll show up.
They'll
There'll
just
be
fly
enough of them.
over and drop a they'll just
Drones,
drop something on the
drones
side of your house. It doesn't matter how many guns you have.
they'll gas you. Yeah, it's always been a lie to make us distracted from the idea that we should be responsible and not vote for a guy who says he's going to be a dictator. Fucker promised to be a dictator. He said he was going to. He openly bragged about sexually assaulting women on the Access Hollywood tape. I've been going to white guys and saying that, asking them if they've ever been grabbed that way. The ones that say they're MAGA supporters, they don't much like it when a large man comes up to them
But
and
you know what
threatens to treat them the same way.
the default for a lot of them, Walter, is, "Oh, I like his policies." And I'm like, "Okay, which one?"
Yeah.
Well, he
Yeah.
closed the border. Okay, we can all agree, I think every Democrat, every liberal progressive will agree, Biden's policies fucked up the border. Okay, that was a bad decision, right? But in trying to repair it and having a deal on the table with Senator Langford, and then having Trump scuttle the whole deal, so we had something to run on,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, it's just we have so much to talk about, and there's so much shit every fucking day that,
Yeah.
like, it's just
Well, I would say too, like my wife deals with refugee kids who have come over because of foreign conflict. You got these kids that have lost everything, and at some point, it usually works when you turn it back to your actions are just torturing little kids. And I like to ask people that to their face. So if they show that they don't care about that at all, like, well, okay, well, this guy's an enemy. Everything this person does, I'm going to oppose. But we still have too many Democrats who are like, oh, my colleague here has been credibly accused of brutally raping a child, and then they still try to find some common ground with that person? And this
there
is
is
the
no
awakening we need to have.
there
That
is
has
no
to stop.
like, when a child is harmed because of an adult action
Oh, God.
that violates that child who does not have the ability to defend themselves, right? Okay? That has to be a red line across
Oh,
the board. I don't care what color you are, how much money you have or how little, what
yeah.
religion you practice. This is like I don't understand why this is such a difficult concept for people. And what it comes down to is that people who are practicing evangelical Christian nationalism. Tim was talking about this with Melissa the other day, about this whole concept. Melissa's really good about this too, is Melissa Corrigan, by the way. She's
Oh,
really
she's
good
great.
because she
I love
grew up in this whole world, right? And I'm not an expert in this being Jewish, but Tim and Melissa were having this conversation yesterday. And it was about this warping effect that the church has.
yeah,
Like, you have to be this way. You have to learn how to.
yeah,
And I'm like, holy shit!
yeah.
How do people believe this? Like, I'm like, am I just
Well,
that secular in belief that I'm not?
you got a science background. That's what frees you that. But I was talking about with Egberto too. It's white supremacy is what it is. And white supremacy is a defilement of Christianity. It takes the structure of Christianity and then it takes God out of the equation and it puts some strongman white child rapist there instead. You have to be completely obedient to that person. And the
You
other
know,
thing that I wanted to add is they are so these white supremacists are everywhere. It's like 70 million people, and they're very good. They've been very well indoctrinated with shifting the conversation away so that we don't recognize like it's the little old grandma that bakes cookies for your kids and then votes to make healthcare, reproductive healthcare illegal, causing women to bleed out and die.
yeah.
And she doesn't know because she thinks in her mind, she's listened to this argument. She's like, well, I have to protect the unborn and we have to break through that. I call it the gap, like that gap thinking where people are delusional and they don't see how their actions are directly contributing to the torturous death of innocent people.
And
We have
and
to make them know.
and I saw this in my community because I live in a community that's like probably like say like 65% Jewish, right? This was especially with baby boomers, right? This was a defining issue for them in the last election was Israel. Like what happened on October 7th,
Ugh, yeah,
was a defining moment for their decision that we have to vote to support Israel no matter what. We can't what Biden's doing is right. And they all one issue voter went this way, right? And it didn't matter about all the other bad shit. Didn't matter the fact that he was convicted of 34 counts of fraud and God knows what else he should have been convicted of because Merrick Garland fucked that up. And this is think about everybody. And I try to tell people this. I'm like, people are like, oh, well, we don't know where we would have been with Harris. I'm like, well, you know where we are now, so you tell me how it could have been worse. Like, and at the end, what I really want to know, and if somebody could do the accounting, and I know Ellie's too busy, so
yeah,
right, but if somebody could actually physically do the accounting, I would love to see a story on how much actual money has been stolen from the treasury in the last 13
oh,
months.
oh,
Okay, not
yeah,
what I mean, we know what we know, right? 350 for the ballroom, he wants another 200 for how much did it cost to do all these ICE activities?
yeah,
How much did the Venezuela shit cost us? All the stuff going to Iran, the bombing, the all the this bullshit going up to Greenland, which you
yeah,
can't tell the difference between Greenland and Iceland, and that's,
yeah.
it's you know,
Well, I'll just say
Kat's on, and she's posting all the Melissa Corrigan stuff, which was
she's great.
amazing, and American Citizen, everybody, if you're not following American Citizen, she's great.
Oh,
Kat's
thanks.
amazing too.
Let me
Um,
say though, yeah, these white supremacists are doing more than stealing from the treasury. They're bankrupting, they're mortgaging the future for the next 1,000 years. They're thinking of another 1,000-year Reich. And you got to ask yourself, I mean, hate speech has endless funding. They can give hundreds of millions to people like Charlie Kirk to go to campuses and spew hatred. They can give it to Joe Rogan. It's like our entire media has been bought up by right wing extremists. And yes, all they do is they steal money in order to. It goes all the way back to the slave era, though. We're living on stolen land. Everything, all the wealth of this country was built by stolen labor. It's just ongoing. These evil, evil people. All they do is steal. And I mean, we got what's the debt at now? $40 trillion. At some point, yeah, we just have to remember it's like all that money has been taken from people it rightfully belongs to. We have to start seizing all these assets. Why are we giving billions of dollars in subsidies to people like Narcan Leon, who owns formerly known as
or the
Twitter? I don't
Koch
like to say his
brothers,
name. Yeah, we
the
give them
sugar
all this money.
farmers, the
Stop
oil
giving them.
guys, right? I mean, but here's the thing, like, whenever we talk about money, like, the government throws around these numbers like, "Oh, it's only 3.2 billion." Alright, so let put this wrap everybody's head scientifically around this, okay? We all know what $1,000 looks like, right? Okay? So, 1,000,000
Yeah,
is 1,000 thousands. Okay. A billion is 1,000 millions, right?
Yeah.
You can't remember Brewster's Millions? He couldn't spend 30,000,000. Remember, like,
Yeah.
he needs
What
to
a
spend
movie, yeah.
30,000,000, right? And like we're talking 38 trillion. That's 38,000 billions.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And
And that
I
it's
mean,
funding
like,
hate. It's funding hate. That's where
it's,
it went.
but it just the level of the debt that we are never going to able to pay back. Even if we had austerity from now until to balance the budget out, it'd be 2053. Okay. And that's with full austerity, right? Like this, like, imagine that. I mean, I talked about this like when Nick interviewed me, and it was like, what was the first thing I would do would have the new Department of Justice all ready to go, all 16 U.S. attorneys ready, all lined up. Jack Smith as the Attorney General, and then hopefully you've got 51 in the Senate that you could just blanket approve all of them with one vote, done, right? And then the next fucking day or that afternoon or whatever, you freeze every single one of their assets
Yeah.
pending judicial investigation. Freeze all their fucking assets. You take their fucking passports away and you hold them here so they can't leave. And you know what? Maybe you can't touch Trump because he's an ex-president, you know, because everything he did was legal according to the Roberts Court. But then again, you bring in that fat fuck Chief Justice, okay, who sold us down the goddamn river. Okay. And he gave everybody that falsifying idea that, oh, the Affordable Care Act is legal, so we're not going to touch it. Meanwhile, he's undone everything else beyond that point. And it's literally like, okay, I want your resignation. You tell Alito and Thomas that they're out the door. We're going to find bribery charges. Kavanaugh, you're just a drunk, so we're just going to arrest you for being an alcoholic. And okay, Gorsuch doesn't bother me because he's pretty much straight knowing, where at least with him. And I would give Barrett a pass only on the point that she does have some humanistic female attributes that have tempered a little bit of the court,
I
but
want her out.
I'd
Anything
want her
conservative,
I
I
want
want her
her out too, and, it's like and it's just like you can't jail these people, but you can really make them fucking uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, there's a it's gonna be interesting to see how this plays out. I think one way of looking at it is just all of us recognizing money itself is a construct of white
Money
supremacy.
is the root of all evil.
Yes, I mean, we've known that, right? It goes all the way back. That I interviewed Paul Vigna in his book, The Almightier, and that was interesting. It goes all the way back, just like this prosperity gospel. And my daughter brought it up the other day. She called it social Darwinism. I'm like, what is that? And she's just like, oh, this belief that some people are superior because they have money. And it's like that is a white supremacy argument.
Yeah,
It's like,
that was called Mein Kampf.
yeah. And I'm like, I want you to, and it's like, but then it's like, yeah, I try to not get my daughter. She knows. She's like, yeah, dad. She's just like, I have to survive this class. So it's like, okay. I try not to get her involved in my activism too much, but it's just know that that's white supremacy. What your teacher's teaching you there, and just we need to have that change though, that massive change. Yeah, she's a sophomore and
And I
she
think,
handles these things.
you know, like, I mean, my daughter's 17 and a half. She'll be 18 in April. She's gonna be off to college next year. So you know, I feel, you know, I just didn't realize the time. I gotta get back to clinic, everybody.
Oh
But
yeah,
anyway, no, but
gotcha.
final thoughts. Walter, you go first.
Oh, no. Well, I just wanted to say, Egberto, he was asking about my daughter. My daughter was like, "This doesn't seem right, Daddy. What the hell even is this?" So
She's so
she knew
talented.
I've
Ugh.
got her set. Well, we're sitting there reading the Demon Haunted World together, so I got them pretty well established. And the children's books I've written are all about these evil people, the encroachments. It's easier if you don't lecture them as a dad. You put it in the form of a talking dog in the story. But oh, Eric, it's been so wonderful. I was kind of hoping we could
Ugh.
just shoot the shit, but we kind of got into some serious stuff, and it's important that we talked about it. So thank you so much for your time and
Ugh.
your humanity and your support. I appreciate you, and I'll let it turn over to you because I know you got to
Alright.
go.
Okay, everybody. Well, listen, my friend Walter, I'd rather be writing Walter Rhein. Please subscribe to him and follow his work. He's just an amazing human being. He's just one of the more like just conscientious people on here. There's so many of us, Egberto, and I could go through the whole Blue Amp media family and everybody else that we all kind of follow at the same time. But Walter's just such a gem, and I wanted to have a little. He and I needed some guide time, so appreciate everybody hanging around, and thanks for banging out the hearts for him and I, and we'll get American Citizen on. We'll do
Yes, good
she's
idea.
she's she's a trip.
Perfect.
She's got a lot of info for a lot of people on survivability and, it just really appreciate, like Beardo for hanging out for this hour and
Yeah.
putting in, and supporting all of us and everybody else that we see all the time. Kat, Karen, Lefty, really, all you guys are thank you for supporting us
They're all
and
they are all
you guys
forces of
are
justice for
we
good,
are the
as I've been
change,
saying.
right? We are going to be the change and
Yes, yes.
just
We
anything
can
that you
do it.
do, even if it's just a little bit, if it's something that you do, you read a new article, you talk to somebody online, you open up your neighborhood, you meet your, even if it's a neighbor who you haven't seen before, and you just walk over and introduce yourself and just take care of yourself, take care of your neighbors, take care of your
Yes,
families, right?
yes, and it'll
And
feel
just
good.
remember, I tell my patients this all the time, you can have your health and your wealth, but you can't have one without the other. So take care of each other, take care of your families, be healthy, good, get into a good mind space every day. Um, take your vitamins, drink plenty of fluids. And
Stretch,
if you're in a cold climate, please, stay warm,
wear a hat.
wear a hat, stay safe, be vigilant, but be smart, right? And speak up because if we don't speak up, then nobody hears you,
Yeah, yeah.
you know. And really just everybody I have no paywall. You please, if you're not subscribed to me, please, you can follow or subscribe. I'm happy either way. I'm very minuscule in this whole little world. Follow Walter, he's great, and you can catch us tomorrow on the Diagene group
Oh,
with
that's
Nick and
Thursday, isn't it?
Evan. Thursday, I'm sorry, yeah,
Yeah,
Thursday at 12:30 PM Eastern. We'll be with Nick and Evan.
it's gonna be
And,
good.
does Nick have a special guest with us this week?
I don't know. I hope I get to tell the story, the origin of the name, because I didn't get to do
I'll
that last time.
I'll let you have all the screen time you want. So
Well, tune in for that. That's a
tune
little
in for that
teaser.
Thursday, 12:30.
And everybody be a force of justice for good. That's my new
Yes,
phrase, and tell other people to do that. Be a force of justice for good.
and everybody have a wonderful rest of the day and be safe, and we love you, and
Yeah.
hearts out to everybody, and have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your Tuesday.
Bye. Thank you.
Walter, thanks, bud.
Thank you.